Look all right?
Hello there, and welcome to the Watchful Citizen. I'm your host for today's show. My name is Josh Cramer, and I have with me Mr. James Terry, who is the Development Director of KZUM Community Radio Station, and he's also an active citizen himself. And we're going to have a conversation today about several different things, so thank you for tuning in. First of all, James, we appreciate you taking the time to be on our show. And why don't you start by just almost like you're introducing yourself to somebody who might be watching. Who is James Terry, and what do you do?
Well, I went to, I'm a Lincolnite. You know, I went to Whittier, I went to Lincoln High, I went to University of Nebraska. I graduated in sociology. And I had such a wonderful time because my teacher was one of these people that like to go out in the field in sociology. So he was doing a lot of surveys and going into the community and seeing what they needed. And that just attracted me towards doing community work because he didn't go by what was learned in the book. He went out there hands-on experience, so that just was great.
Okay, and can you give me some examples of some of the things with this, hands-on experience that you had, some of what you saw and how that has led you into action in your own life?
Well, I think one of the first things was the first boards I was on was the Cable Advisory Board by Helen Priscilla. She appointed me to that, and I learned how to work. That was my first time on the board of directors, so I learned how to work with people, and it was a wonderful experience. And from there, I went and worked on with Nebraska Center for Children and Youth in the lockup facility because I wanted to work with kids that the disadvantaged, the ones that people didn't want to work with. I found since I was a kid that was from a low-income family, I knew some of the problems they was having, so I thought I could best do the best job I could at working in a lockup facility with kids. And I spent the last 25 years working with kids in a lot of different varieties because I wanted to be able to be effective, not only with the hard to work with kids, but the kids that was in the scouting program, kids that was in a junior achievement. So I had a wonderful time working in those kind of areas.
Well, James, kind of take us forward now to 2008, and what are you doing today?
Oh, today I'm working at Nebraska Mental Health Region 5. I'm on their board. A friend of mine who used to work over at with Lincoln Action in where they feed people, I was one of his top volunteers, and he remembered me and said, "You need to come and help me do this project." And so I said, and his name is Alan Green, he's a director, and I said, no problem. I also working with my friend Dennis Banks. He's working with a program called the Talent 10th. This is a program that helps youth who's in the system that got got in a little trouble, and so we're trying to plant the seeds and showing them that they don't have to do this, that there's other ways to achieve what you want to without getting in trouble.
Okay. Now, I know Mr. Banks, and I know a little bit about Talented 10th. Now, that's at the Malone Center, is that right?
That's at the Malone Community Center. That's where we first met.
Okay. Why don't you tell some of our viewers may not know what the Malone Center is, or maybe they've heard of it, they've seen it. Can you describe?
Well, Malone Community Center is a fantastic agency that works with, has always worked with minorities. I'm just going to say minorities because it's always been not only the African American, but it's been other minorities over there also. And they was first originally called the Urban League, and Clyde Malone was their secretary. When he died, they changed it from the Urban League to the Malone Community Center. And it just is a fantastic program that's working with youth. T.J. McDowell is the director. He's a local person who spent 14 years with the Lighthouse and went to Wesleyan University. So he's very, very qualified. And his philosophy is education, to make sure that his goal is to make sure that the African Americans, males and females, graduate from Lincoln High or Northeast or wherever they're at. That's their goals. If they come to the Malone Center, they're going to graduate.
And what if a young person wants to get involved, or if a parent wants their young child to get involved, is this something that costs a lot of money if they want to be involved in the summer program or after school?
Summer program, as far as I'm aware of, it is a cost. That's the after-school program for kids 5 to 13, and Nate Woods is in charge. That's his program, and he runs a fantastic program. It's Title V if you getting the assistance, or it has a sliding fee.
Okay, well that's good. I'm struck by something that you did here. I said, take us up to current time frame and what is it that you're doing now, and you led with 2 different volunteer experiences, and I'm sure you probably have some other volunteer experiences as well, but you didn't start out with your paying gig. And why wouldn't you, first of all, start out with what it is you do to get paid, and second of all, what is that you do?
Well, when I was working at the Malone Community Center, I was the community activist, and my job was to find jobs for people and to work with the youth council, and I needed ways to promote my program. KZUM just went on the air, maybe it was 2 to 4 months old, and I went over there and applied for a show and we had a show called Malone Reaching Out, and I just loved it so much, so I got on the board of there and was on the board for about 6 years. It was a great experience, and then 25 years later, they ended up hiring me. I come back, I done been to California, I've been to Waterloo, Iowa, been a few little places, and I come back, and Jim Anderson, who does a wonderful blues show, his partner just died, and he needed somebody to fill that gap, and he kept on bugging me. I said, Jim, well, I don't know. And I said, one of these days, I'm surprised you. And I went up there, and worked there for about a year. I volunteered with him for about a year. The next thing I know, they had a job opening, and they kind of liked my resume, and they said I had a few skills, so I got hired.